We continue now at the top of Daf Chesam and Beis in Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zara Daf 8b. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought a brisa which said that a Jewish person should not participate in a banquet that's made, let's say, by an idolater to celebrate the wedding of his son. So if those involve any kinds of hodah, of things being given to their Avodah Zara, so a Jewish person should not participate at all in such a feast. And so the Gemara now continues and says, therefore, call it Tlos and Yomen for 30 days after the banquet. Bein Amar Le Machmas Hilula. Let's say the idol worshiper is inviting the Jew over for some kind of a meal, whether he says to him that this is because of the celebration of the wedding, uvein lo, or whether he says that it's unrelated, and so we're still going to say that we should assume that that has some connection to the feast, to the celebration, and therefore he should not accept such an invitation. Rashi explains, Kol Tlos and Yomen Devos Hilula for 30 days after the feast. Bein Amar Ovid Kochavim Zeli Yisrael Machmas Hilula Ani Osa Seudazu. Whether the idolater tells the Jew that I'm making this meal because of the wedding, uvein lo Amar lo, or even if he doesn't say that, Mistama Lihilula Mechavin. It makes sense to say that it is connected to the wedding celebration of Yasser, and therefore it's forbidden to come to such an event. Because all of the days of the celebration of the banquet, he's going to be bringing offerings to his Avodah Zara. So that's why again, called Tlos and Yomen, Bein Amar Le Machmas Hilula, Uvein Lo Amar Le Machmas Hilula. Whether he says it's because of the celebration, whether he doesn't tell him it's connected, Asr, it's going to be forbidden to join. Mikan Va'elech, but let's say it's after 30 days, so then Amar Le Machmas Hilula Asr, if he says that this is connected to the wedding celebration or to the banquet, it's Asr. V'ilo, but if V'ilo Amar Le Machmas Hilula, but if he doesn't say it's connected to the Hilula, so then Shari, it's going to be permitted. But the Gemara continues, V'chi Amar Le Machmas Hilula, but let's say he does say it's connected. Ad Emas, so how long is that going to go for? Amar Papa says it's actually going to go for 12 months of a year. That actually extends for a full year. If he specifically tells you it's going to be connected, so that it's problematic for an entire year. And the Gemara continues, Umei Kara. Now, what about from before? Rashi explains, Umei Kara Kodem Sheyachnes as Ishto Meimas Chayshin Lehilu. Let's say it's before the wedding. For how long before the wedding are we concerned that it has to do with the upcoming wedding? Im Hizmin Anashim Lisod Etzlo. Let's say he invites people to eat a meal by him. So Umei Kara Meimas Aser. So from before the wedding, what point in time is it considered to be forbidden? And the Gemara says, Amar Papa Mishmei de Rava. Papa, in the name of Rava, says Mechi Ramu Sari Ba'asinti. It's when they would take the barley and start to put it in the vat to prepare it for the making of the beer for the wedding. They're getting ready for the wedding. And the Gemara continues, is it really true that after 12 months, after a year, it's permitted? Rav Yitzchak, the son of Rav Mesharshia, he went to the house of a certain idolater, and it was after 12 months already from the time of the wedding. And he heard that he was giving some kind of thanks to his Avodah Zara. So he separated himself, and he did not eat, he didn't want to partake at all. And the Gemara says, Shani Rav Yitzchak Bereder Rav Mesharshia. Well, Rav Yitzchak, the son of Rav Mesharshia, is different. The Adam Chashavu is an important person, so he makes more of a separation for himself, as Rashi explains. The Adam Chashavu v'samach mimenu Oved Kochavim miod. The Oved Kochavim, the idolater, is very happy to have him over to celebrate the meal, and so therefore he has to distance himself more than regular people. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah mentioned V'kartusim, which was another holiday. My Kartusim, what is this holiday Kartusim? Amar Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, Yom Shetafsa Bo Romei Malchus. That's the day that the Roman Empire, they took control. The Gemara says, V'atanya, but we learned in a Brisa, Kartusim V'yom Shetafsa Bo Romei Malchus. The Brisa lists them as two separate days. There's Kartusim, and then there's the day that the Roman Empire began to take control of the empire. And Rashi explains, Yom Shetafsa Bo Romi Malchus, again, it's the day that the Roman Empire took control. Shenilchamu im Yevonim, that's referring to the war with the Greeks. V'nitzcham, and they conquered them. Umalchu b'chol ha'olam, and therefore they ruled the entire world. But in any case, we see in the Bryce it seems to be two separate days. And the Gemara continues and answers, Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, Shtei Tefisos Tafsa Romi. There actually were two times that the Romans took control. Achas b'mei Kalpatra Malchasa. One was in the days of Queen Cleopatra. The Achas Shetafsa b'mei Yevonim. And the other one was in the days of the Yevonim. So the one in the days of the Yevonim, that's called Yom Shetafsa Bo Romi Malchus. And then the one in our Mishnah Kartasim, that is referring to the times of Cleopatra. And Rashi explains, Bimei Cleopatra Malchusa Shal Alexandria, she was the queen of Alexandria in Egypt. Kenamar Bahamapelas Meseches Nida, like we say Meseches Nida. V'nilchamu Romiam Ima, the Romans, they fought with her. V'nitzchu, and they defeated her. V'tavsu Heim Hamalucha, and therefore they took, at that time, they took the kingdom. So those were two separate victories of the Roman Empire. And the Gemara continues, because when Rav Dimi came, he said, Tlasunu train Karvi Avdu Ramoy Bahada Yevani. There were 32 battles that the Romans did with the Greeks. V'lo yachlulu, they weren't able to defeat the Greeks. Ad deshatfinu liyisrael bahadayu, until they joined together with the Jewish people, and then they were able to defeat the Greeks. V'hachi asnu bahadayu, and this was the condition, or this was the stipulation that they made together with the Jewish people. They said as follows: Iminon malchi minaychu afarchi. They said to the Jewish people, if the kings are going to come from us, then from you you'll provide the governors. Iminaychu malchi, and if the kings come from you, minon hafarchi, then the governors will come from us. The point was that they had this partnership. And the Gemara continues, V'shalchu lehu romoy liavnoi, and the Romans, they sent the Greeks the following message: Ad ho'idna avidna bekrov, until now we've been battling you, but hashta navid bedina, but now let's have the following judgment. Margalis ve'evan tova, if you have a pearl and you have a precious stone, eza mehen yaseh basas l'chaver, which one should be the support for its friend, meaning which one is the more precious one? And so shalchu lehu, so they sent back Margalis le'evan tova, they said that the pearl should serve the evan tova, the precious stone, that's more valuable. Evan tova ve'enach, the evan tova and the enach, which is another kind of precious stone, ezu mehen yaseh basas l'chaver, which one should be the support for its friend? And they said evan tova la'enach, they said that the evan tova, that should be a support for the enach. The Enoch is a more valuable kind of stone. And Enoch v'Sefer Torah, let's say you have the Enoch and a Sefer Torah, Eizu mehen yaseh basas l'chavero, which one should support, which one should be a setting for its friend? And they said Enoch l'Sefer Torah, the Enoch should be like a support, like a setting for the Sefer Torah. The Sefer Torah is the most precious. And so shalchu lehu, so therefore they sent to them, they sent to the Greeks, Imkain, if so, Anon Sefer Torah Gabon v'Yisrael bahadon, we have the Sefer Torah by us because we have the partnership of Klal Yisrael. And so therefore the Gemara says, Kafaluhu, therefore the Romans were able to defeat the Greeks. And the Gemara says, Esrin v'shis shenin kamaluhu be'emenusayu. For 26 years they actually kept their word, Bahada Yisrael, with the Jewish people, and they were partners. But mikan va'elach, but from that point on, ishtabdu b'hu, so then they already forced the Jewish people to be subservient to them, to the Romans. And the Gemara continues, Meikara my drosh ulevasof my drosh. What was the drasha that they made in the beginning, and what do they say in the end? Meaning to say, why did the Romans originally keep their word, and they kept their partnership with the Jewish people, and then they later decided that they would subjugate them? And the Gemara says, Meikara drosh, originally they darshan the nisav and eilecha ve'elcha lenegdecha. That's by Yaakov and Esav. It says that I'm going to walk together with you. So you see, in the beginning we'll be together. Ulevasof darsh, but at the end they darshan the yavarna adoni lefnei avdo. It said Yaakov said that Esav should go in front, and so therefore they went in front. And the Gemara continues, Esrei v'shis shenin dekamo behem nusaya b'hada Yisrael. The fact that for 26 years they kept their word in their partnership with Klal Yisrael Minolan, from where do we know that? And the Gemara says, the Yomer of Kahana, because Rav Kahana says, Kishachol Rabbi Yishmael bar Yossi, or Rabbi Yossi, when Rabbi Yishmael bar Rabbi Yossi, when he became ill, Shalchu lei Rebbe emor lanu shnayim v'gimel devarim shamarta lanu mishum avicha. So they sent him, the students sent him, and they said, Rebbe, tell us 2 or 3 things that you said in the name of your father, Rabbi Yossi. Amar Lui said to them, Meyo shmonim shana kodim shenecher habayis. He said the following: for 180 years before the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Pashta Malchus Harisha al Yisrael, that's when the wicked kingdom, that's when they spread their power over Klal Yisrael. Again, this is talking before the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash. Pei Shana Ad Lo Charav Habayis, 80 years until the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Gazru Tumah al Eretz Ha'amim, the Rabbanan said that there would be Tumah anywhere outside of Eretz Yisrael should be considered Tameh. V'al Kalei Zechuchas, at that time they also decreed that there should be Tumah when it comes to vessels that are made out of glass. Before that time, kalim that were made out of glass did not have tumah at all. Mem shana ad lo charav habayis, and then 40 years before the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, Golsa Sanhedrin v'yashvala b'Chanus. The Sanhedrin, they were exiled and they sat in a place called Chanus, that was an area by the Beis HaMikdash. And some translate it literally as a store by the Beis HaMikdash, like a storefront, so to speak, by the Beis HaMikdash. And the Gemara says, Lamai Hilchasa, now for what practical halachic difference does it make that the Sanhedrin moved to this location? And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi says, Lomar means to say, Shalo Danu Dine Knasus, that at that time they no longer judged cases involving Knas, involving fines. The Gemara says, Dine Knasus al Gadaitach, does it really enter your mind that they no longer judged Dine Knasus at that point in time? That's simply not true. As we see as follows, knows. V'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, but Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Baram Zachar Oso Ish Latov. The following person should be remembered for good. Rav Yehuda ben Bava Shmo, and his name is Rav Yehuda ben Bava. Shel Molehu, if not for him, Nishtachu Dinei Knasos Mi Yisrael, all the laws of Knas would have been forgotten from Klal Yisrael. The Gemara says, Nishtachu, they'd really be forgotten. Ligrasinu, let's just learn them. Ella, rather, what it means to say is, if not for him, Batalu Dinei Knasos Mi Yisrael. The Dinei Knasos, they would have been batal, they would have been nullified, they wouldn't have been judged any longer, meaning he caused that we continued to judge Dinei Knasos. Shagazra Malchus Arisha Gezerah, because the Malchus Arisha, the Roman Empire, they made a decree, Kol HaSomech Yerag V'chol HaNismach Yereg. Anybody who gives smicha is going to be killed, anybody who receives smicha is going to be killed. V'ir Shesomchen Botei Chorev, any city where they give smicha will be destroyed. Utchum Shesomchen Bo Yeyaker, and any boundary where they give smicha is going to be uprooted. So Ma'aser Rav Yehuda ben Bava, what did Rav Yehuda ben Bava do? Halach V'yasha ben Shnei Harim Gedolim uvein Shtei Ayaros Gedols. He went between two large mountains, between two big cities. He didn't want to be near any cities. Bein Beis Techumei Shabbos, between two boundaries of Shabbos. Bein Usha l'Shafarim, between Usha and Shafarim. He went to this remote area. V'samach Sham Chamisha Zakenim, and he gave smicha there to 5 elders, and they were Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua. Rav Avya Mosef, and Rav Avya adds Afram Nechemia. Rav Nechemia was also there. And Kevan Sheikiru Behem Oivim, when the enemies recognized this, Amar Lahem, he said to them, B'ni Rutzu, he said, my sons, run away. Amrulo, they said to him, Rebbe, V'yatom Matei Olecha, but Rebbe, what's going to be with you? Amar Lahem, he said to them, Hareini Muta Lifneim Ke'evan, I'm going to be in front of them like a stone, She'ein Lahovchen, that has no one to overturn it. Amru, they said, Lo Zazu Mishamat Shenotzu Legufo Gimel Meos Lulinios Shel Barzel. They didn't move from there until they put through his body, 300 iron spears, V'asau Legufo Kechvar, and they made his body like a sieve. And so therefore you see over here that they continue to judge Dinei Knasos much after that time period. And so the Gemara says, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, Lo Teima Dinei Knasos, rather when the Sanhedrin moved to the Chanus, don't say that they stopped judging Dinei Knasos, because those continue to be judged. Ela Shelo Danu Dinei Nefashos, rather just means that they did not judge capital cases. My time, what is the reason why did they stop judging capital cases? The answer is, Kevan Dechazu Nefishi Luhurotzchen, since they saw there were a lot of murderers, V'lo Yachli, it wouldn't be possible practically Lameidan to judge these cases. Amru, they said, Mutav Nigli Mimakam Lamakam, it's better that we exile ourselves from one place to another, Ki Echi Delo L'chayivu, in order that they shouldn't be made liable. And the Gemara continues, Dechsiv, as it's written in the Pasuk, how do we know that if the Sanhedrin moves, they don't judge these kind of cases? Because it's written in the Pasuk, V'yasisa al pi hadavar asher yagidu lecha min hamokom ahu. It says from that place, from the area where the Sanhedrin normally sits. Melamed shamokom gorim, we see that the area, the location is critical in terms of judging these cases. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots, Meya Ushmonim V'sulo, so we said above that 180 years before the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, that's when the Roman Empire took control. Is it really 180 years and no more than that? V'atani Rabbi Yossi B'Rebbe, but Rabbi Yossi B'Rebbe taught, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tes Amud Aleph.